There's no easy answer to the question of what do you do to get into the business and have a great career. Unlike so many other professions where you've got a roadmap, you just have to be open-minded and realize that there isn't one path to get to this. If I had thought to myself when I was in high school or even in college, I want to get from A to Z, and here's the path that I have to go to get it, and had put blinders on, I'd have never wound up anywhere near where I've wound up. And the reason that that happened was that I was open to things that might happen, sort of follow the yellow brick road as it evolves in front of you, and be smart enough to be open to it. If I hadn't taken those phone calls that came in, if I hadn't taken advice of friends who recommended meeting with other people, networking, it never would have happened. So I think you need to be open-minded. Number two, you have to be incredibly resilient, because unless this is something that you really must do, don't waste your time, go do something else. I mean, quite honestly, because you're going to have a lot of disappointments. There are going to be a lot of people that say no. Knocking on doors all the time is not easy. And there aren't very often tangible ways to measure one's success or one's value. So how do you get that job? Is it because somebody likes the jacket that you're wearing, or that your dad made a phone call, or what have you? It's hard to know. You have to have sort of the inner strength and compass to say, I know I'm good, I'm going to stick with this. And I think one needs to be well read and well educated. I always, from the time I could read the trades, would read the trades. If I could read books about people in the business, I would read that. If I could get a lunch or a meeting with somebody that could tell me something, I'd be open to that. I think those are the ways that are really about all that one can do to be prepared. But you got to have it in your heart. You got to have the resilience, and you got to have the determination to say, this is it. I can't really do anything else, so I might as well just, sort of give myself up to it.
The first thing is there's no room for equivocation. If you can imagine yourself happy doing something else, do something else. If you can't, then you have to follow that muse, and you have to be a musician. And so if you can't imagine yourself happy doing anything else, then you probably can't imagine yourself happy without really applying yourself to it. And so it's a tremendous amount of dedication. There's this due-paying period where it has to be kind of almost every waking thought. And it doesn't have to last that long, but several years of really making the musical study your focus are gonna pay off, and you're gonna have that kind of foundation for life that a musician needs. And then, as I said before, then it's just the people you meet along the way, not turning down opportunities, and putting this career together. Figuring out that there are things that you do because it's gonna make a relationship, or it's going to increase your knowledge in some area, increase your experience in some area, and when you leave that behind, so that you can make room for the next thing that comes into your life. And I think that there's a constant management of that. So the advice is, if you know you have to be a musician, then you have to be a musician. Then spend that due-paying time, take in all the input you can, work as hard as you can. Be able to look yourself in the mirror and say, there's a jazz pianist looking out at me the other way. And then, along the way, figuring out where you invest your time. Some people invest their money, we have our time to invest, and so we have to make careful investments. No matter what the world says, music is vital, it's essential, it's more vital than it's ever been. I call it the mortar of humanity. It binds us together no matter what our religion, our experience, our education. If you honestly and truthfully can take something that you feel and compellingly bring it to life, everybody in that audience will feel the same thing in the same way. We'll all be in the same place together. And it helps, if we can all be in that place together, appreciating the beauty of human existence, then that means we appreciate humankind. We don't want to blow each other up. We don't want to try to become king of the hill in this world. We want to live together. More than ever, being a musician is vital. It's a vital, like I said, mortar of humanity. It's really needed. It's not trivial. It's an important way to spend your life. When all is said and done, I'll be very proud of the fact that I spent my life as a musician.
For me, I have absolutely no regrets about the career choices I've made, about the life that I have in music. I'm honored that I can still be a musician. The greatest reward to me is the camaraderie and mutual respect of the people I work with. That maybe I can tell a story and sing a song and carry a message. If I can tell the truth, that somebody out there will hear it and they'll say, you know what, I feel that way too, and that they're not quite as alone as they thought they were, which is what great art has always done, is it makes a connection between people. If I look at a Picasso painting or, like Guernica, I get it. I get what he's telling me. He's telling me a story, If I listen to James Brown, he's talking to me. I get it, and so that's, a life in the arts is not an easy life. It's a hard life, but it has rewards that you don't get in other walks of life. It's challenging. You have to depend on yourself most of the time. But I have absolutely no regrets. It's provided me with a wonderful life. I get to do the kinds of things I like to do with people I like to do it with almost all the time. So, and it's the kind of thing that you can continue to do forever. I will be, I'll drop dead on the gig someday or on the session, It's not the kind of thing that most musicians never retire. They just keep grooving. They keep playing. It's good like that. You can continue to develop your ideas and your technique and be more vivid and more passionate and be a better communicator in the art as time goes on. So. I would never discourage anyone from choosing it, but I would say choose it with your eyes open. Don't think that this is that you're gonna live in Beverly Hills and you have a servant to go up to the 7-Eleven for you, because that ain't gonna work. It ain't gonna work, and it's a very dangerous fantasy to entertain.
It's getting so much more complex, and it's also moving into more than ever a do-it-yourself environment, where there's going to be less reliance on that major label contract, to make it all happen for you. That could very well become a thing of the past. The successful musicians of the future are the ones who know how to harness all of the elements of their career, and coordinate it into some kind of a organic whole where they understand how to manage their careers, how to handle their own booking and their touring and their merchandising and those kinds of things that it used to be artists took the attitude, I don't need to know anything about that. I just, I work with my manager, we work with our agent, we work with our label, our publisher, and they take care of all that. Well, I think the technology has allowed that now to move outside of those sort of formal mechanisms and allow a lot more opportunity for the do-it-yourself musician. But you got to be prepared, and you have to understand how to use the technology to your best advantage.
The bad news is that it's really tough right now in the music industry, but the good news, there's a lot of, for the same reason, there's a lot of communication, very easy ways to communicate and get your music out to the audience. And there's a lot of great technology and to be able to help you create your music and get it on some form of digital form, so you can upload it to the internet, different sites, or hand out CDs at shows and stuff. But the most important thing is that you learn your craft. Don't get ahead of yourself. First of all, I think it's very, very important that artists today be multifaceted, be able to see their own video or story, or make it, or film it themselves, make their own website. I mean, you don't have to do that. If you're born Bob Dylan, you don't have to do that. But I think having a wide view of media and everything that's going on is really, really important. It's a real asset. You don't have to do it, but it's a real asset to have. If you're in a band, make sure that somebody in the band or a group of the people in the band can write and really write and be very tough on the songs. And if you can't, then likelihood is that if the band can't write, then likelihood is maybe you don't have the right combination of guys or girls or whatever.
I think that, you know, people live in fear, and I'm no exception to that. But ultimately, I just believe that if you really want to create music, you just need to create music. And there's a great quote from this gentleman named Genesis Peorage. He was in this band called Throbbing Gristle in the late 70s, and he said that the future of music it lies in amateurs, you know, hands. And I believe that. I believe that, especially now with technology to the point where it is, anyone and everyone should create music. If you just want to create a song for a child, you know, to say happy birthday, do that. If you really think you could be the next David Bowie, go ahead and do it, you know. I think ultimately that would be my advice.
We as human beings are all creative, and every person on this planet is capable of making music. Not everybody can turn it into a monetary stream. I would say if you want to try to turn it into a monetary stream, if you want to try to turn it into a career, or if you want it to be something that you spend a lot of your time doing, it's very tricky, but there are ways to do it. Connect to your local music community. Connect to the people who are supportive of your work. Initially, family and friends. Later, colleagues, teachers, infrastructures locally, and work out from there. And you'd be surprised, you know, you're not automatically going to be shut out. There are ways in. Will you be a millionaire off your music? More than likely not. Do you need to be a millionaire off your music? Probably more than likely not. If you want to create the music, create the music. It will happen. And be honest with yourself and be honest with your music.